All right, so get ready because today we're taking a deep dive into, well, the dark side, I guess you could say. We're going to be talking about Voldemort.
Hmm.
And, I think a lot of fans have this question. Could he have ever been redeemed? Or was he just, destined for darkness right from the very start?
Yeah, it's interesting because Voldemort, he wasn't always evil, right? It wasn't like he
Yeah.
was just born that way. He actually made a lot of choices that kind of pushed him further and further down that dark path. And those choices, I think, really tell us a lot about who he was, who he became.
That's a really good point. And, luckily for this deep dive, we've got all the books here. We can really see, I guess you could say, all the warning signs, the choices he made, those really chilling moments.
Right. And it's all right there in the text.
Exactly. It's all there. I think a good place to start would be to talk about his obsession with immortality. Because for Voldemort, it wasn't just like, oh, it'd be nice to live forever. It was really a driving force behind so many of his horrible actions.
Yeah. And he was willing to do just about anything to achieve it.
Right. And he started so young, too. I
Hmm.
mean, just think about it. Dumbledore tells Harry that Tom Riddle was already doing research on Horcruxes. As a teenager, Harry's the same age when he learns about them. But their paths are so different.
Oh, yeah. Totally different.
Harry's worried about Quidditch and classes and hanging out with his friends, and Riddle's already deep into dark magic, like the worst kind of magic you can imagine.
It's like Harry's embracing life and Riddle's trying to cheat death, you know?
Yeah.
And it's a choice, right? Voldemort chose that path.
Exactly. That's what's so interesting to me. It was a very deliberate choice, and it really sets the stage for everything that comes after.
Totally agree.
And of course, all those choices led him to Horcruxes. Now, just in case anyone needs a refresher, a Horcrux is an object that's used to store a piece of your soul. And by doing that, you can become immortal, but the price is just awful. To create a Horcrux, you have to commit murder.
Ugh. It's such a horrible thing. It's like you're literally tearing apart your soul and attaching it to some random object just so you can escape death. It shows how afraid he was, how ambitious he was, and just his complete disregard for human life.
Yeah, and I think the fact that he creates so many Horcruxes really emphasizes that point. He doesn't just create one, he creates several.
Hmm.
He keeps splitting his soul over and over. I mean, Dumbledore even says that creating that many Horcruxes, it was almost unheard of, even in, like the darkest parts of magical history.
Right. It shows how extreme he was willing to go to get what he wanted.
So we're seeing this pattern, right? He wants power, he's scared of dying, and he's willing to do terrible things. And I think all those choices that he makes really impact his ability to feel basic human emotions, like love and remorse.
Absolutely. He just couldn't feel those things, could he?
I don't think so. I mean,
Yeah.
especially love. Remember what Dumbledore says in the seventh book?
Oh, about Lily.
Yeah. He says Voldemort couldn't understand Lily's love for Harry. That powerful, selfless love that saves Harry. Voldemort couldn't even grasp the concept.
It's crazy, right? Voldemort, this incredibly powerful dark wizard. He can't understand love.
It's almost ironic.
Yeah.
But it's also just really, really tragic. And that lack of remorse, I think we see that in his actions all throughout the book. Think about Sirius Black's comment in the third book about Pettigrew. He says Voldemort wouldn't hesitate to kill Pettigrew, even though Pettigrew betrayed his friends to join Voldemort.
It's like Voldemort can't even fathom putting your friends first, you know? To him, dying for a friend would be the honorable thing to do, but he just can't understand it.
Yeah, it's a really chilling reminder of just how twisted his values are. So here we have this being who's power hungry, terrified of death, and can't feel love or remorse. And he keeps making choices that just reinforce all of that.
Yeah.
So where does that leave us in terms of redemption? Was it even possible for him at that point?
It's a good question. I mean, if someone is that far gone, can they even recognize that they need to change, let alone actually want to? It's really helpful to compare Voldemort to someone like Snape. Snape, despite all his flaws and some of the things he did, ultimately, I mean, he found redemption in the end.
Yeah, Snape is such a good example because he was bitter and he was vindictive and even cruel sometimes.
Uh.
But there was still this love, this deep love that he had for Lily.
Oh, yeah. His love for Lily completely shaped his life, didn't it?
It really did.
And Dumbledore confirms it, right? It was that love that motivated Snape to protect Harry, to go against Voldemort. I mean, it's the opposite of what Voldemort felt.
Such a stark contrast. Voldemort couldn't even understand those feelings.
All right, exactly.
Oh, and remember that scene in the sixth book when Snape makes the unbreakable vow with Narcissa?
Oh, yeah.
He says he'll protect Draco and, carry out this dangerous mission.
Mm.
And on the surface, it looks like he's totally on Voldemort's side. But in the end, his actions are actually working against him.
Yeah, that's what's so interesting about Snape. He was playing this really dangerous game.
Very dangerous.
He's walking a tightrope, really.
Yeah, between loyalty and deceit.
And Voldemort. Voldemort could never do that. He couldn't handle that nuance.
Exactly. So we have Snape, who's flawed, yeah, but he finds redemption. He's driven by this love for Lily and a desire to, make things right. And then you have Voldemort, who's consumed by power, consumed by fear, and can't feel any of those things. So I guess the question is, was there ever a moment where Voldemort could have chosen a different path?
That's a tough one. To answer that, you'd have to find a time where Voldemort showed remorse, or maybe he asked for forgiveness or said he wanted to change.
Rick, but those are hard to find.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't think those moments exist.
I think you're right. Throughout the books, all we see are these actions that show, he's not capable of those things. He just wants more power.
Yeah, he doesn't care about the pain he causes.
It's like he doesn't even see it.
Okay, think about that scene in the 7th book. After Harry confronts Voldemort with that broken prophecy, Bellatrix is terrified of him, right? She's denying the truth, begging him not to punish her.
It's so sad, actually. You really see how much fear everyone has for him.
And Voldemort's reaction, it's just cold. There's no compassion at all.
Exactly. He doesn't care about her. He's just thinking about himself, about his plan.
It just shows that redemption for him. It's unlikely.
Yeah, I think so too.
He can't empathize. He doesn't understand. He created this world where everyone's afraid of him.
And they have to obey him.
Exactly.
Oh, there's also a parallel in the 5th book, I think. After Harry sees that vision of Arthur Weasley getting attacked, remember?
Yeah, I remember that.
Fudge makes this announcement urging everyone to be careful, but he won't admit that Voldemort's back.
Yeah.
It's like Voldemort himself refusing to see the truth.
Whoa, that's a good point. They're both, clinging to this version of reality that isn't real. They can't face the truth.
Like they're afraid of what it means.
They can't handle anything that might challenge them.
Okay, so we've talked about how Voldemort was obsessed with living forever and that he was willing to do just awful things to make that happen.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't seem capable of feeling remorse or love. So it's a pretty grim picture. But do you think, understanding why he is the way he is, does that make him a more interesting villain?
It definitely adds something, right? We're not just looking at pure evil anymore. We're trying to understand what made him this way.
It's what makes Harry Potter so good, I think.
Yes.
It's not just good versus evil,
Yeah.
It's about choices and consequences.
Totally. And it's about human nature.
Exactly.
And that brings us to you, dear listener. What do you think? What stands out to you about Voldemort? What makes someone truly beyond saving?
Is it the things they do or how dark they are? Or is it that they don't want to change? There's no remorse at all. What do you think makes someone irredeemable?
Yeah, think about it. These are big questions, and I think the series really makes us think about it. We see how Voldemort's choices, driven by fear, by ambition, it all leads him down this path where there's no going back.
Yeah.
He wanted to live forever so badly that he lost sight of everything else.
And it's not just that he did terrible things. It's that he didn't care. There was no guilt, no regret.
Yeah, no remorse.
And I think that says a lot about him,
It's like he thought he was above the rules. Right and wrong didn't apply to him.
Which is interesting because if he really believed that,
Yeah.
can we even blame him for his actions then?
That's the big question, isn't it? Free will. Can we all choose good or evil? Or are some people just born bad?
That's a really fascinating question.
It really is.
And I don't think there's an easy answer.
I don't think so either.
But with Voldemort, I think we see someone who chose evil again and again.
He did.
But we can't forget about his childhood either. He grew up in an orphanage.
Right.
No love, no connection.
Yeah, those early years, they definitely shaped how he saw the world.
Absolutely. He couldn't connect with people.
Yeah, he couldn't feel empathy.
And it's probably because of what happened to him as a kid.
It's almost like it became a self-fulfilling prophecy. He didn't get love, so he didn't believe it existed.
That's a really good point.
And he became incapable of loving anyone himself.
It's a sad story, really.
It is.
And all his actions, from being mean to the other kids at the orphanage,
Yeah.
to manipulating everyone around him, it all shows that he doesn't care about other people.
He doesn't.
And that lack of empathy, that lack of remorse.
In the end, I think that's what tells us he was beyond redemption.
And I agree.
He just couldn't change.
Even Dumbledore, who was so wise, so compassionate, even he seemed to know it.
He knew Voldemort had made his choice.
And there was nothing anyone could do to change his mind.
It's tragic, but it's also, kind of profound.
Yeah.
Even magic has limits. When you're dealing with that kind of darkness,
So we spent all this time talking about Voldemort's soul. What are
Wow.
your big takeaways?
Well, I think it's this. Even in a world with magic, some choices, they just lead you down a path where you can't come back.
Yeah.
Some things, they stain your soul, and redemption just becomes impossible.
But it's not all bad, right? There's still hope. We have characters like Snape.
Oh, right.
He was flawed, but he found a way to make things right. He chose love and sacrifice.
Yeah, instead of hate and power.
And let's not forget all those witches and wizards who fought against Voldemort.
Mm-hmm.
They stood up for what was right, even when it was really scary.
Yeah, they did.
Their courage, their compassion, it reminds us that even when things are dark.
It reminds us that good can still win.
Yeah, and that we can choose to be better. We always have a choice. We can choose to be afraid, to hate, or we can choose to fight for what we believe in, to stand up for each other, and to never give up hope.
And that's what makes Voldemort such a fascinating villain.
Yeah, why is that?
His story is a warning, about what happens when you just want power.
When you let fear control you. It's interesting because even though Voldemort couldn't understand love, he knew it was powerful.
Oh, that's so true.
Like he even tried to use it for himself.
Right. He tried to twist it into something evil.
Exactly. Are you talking about how he tried to use Harry's connection to his mom's love?
Yeah. He knew that Lily's sacrifice had protected Harry, and he wanted to break that protection. He wanted to use it against Harry.
That's a really good point. It shows that Voldemort knew love was powerful, even though he didn't get it.
And that's how evil works, right? It's not always obvious. It can be tricky, manipulative.
It can even seem good.
Yeah, exactly.
So, back to our original question. Does understanding Voldemort make him a more interesting villain?
I think so. Because it shows us that even something like fear can create evil.
Voldemort's fear of death, his need to control everything, it led him to make choices that ruined him in the end.
It's a really powerful message.
It is.
Even the smartest people can be corrupted by fear.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into Voldemort's soul, we're left feeling kind of fascinated.
And a little uneasy, right?
Yeah, I think so. It's like we've looked into this dark place, and we've seen how it can consume even the most powerful wizard.
But we've also seen how strong love is, how the human spirit can survive.
And there's always hope.
Yeah, always.
There's always a choice, a chance for redemption, a chance to change.
And I think that's the most important thing we can learn from all of this.
It is.
The choice is always ours.
We can choose fear, we can choose hate, or we can choose to fight for what we believe in, to stand up for the people we love, and never give up on the chance for a better future.
Yeah, brighter future.
It's been a fascinating deep dive.
It has.
I hope you enjoyed exploring Voldemort with us.
I hope so too. The wizarding world is full of mysteries, so keep exploring.
Until next time, dear listener, may your own deep dives be full of wonder and insight.
And a little bit of magic, of course.
It's not all doom and gloom, though, is it?
No, none at all.
Like, there's still a really important message here. Even with all this darkness, there's still hope. We see characters like Snape. Even with his flaws, he finds a way to, make things right. He chooses love. He chooses sacrifice.
Exactly, over hate and power.
And all those witches and wizards, right? They fought against Voldemort. They stood up for what they believed in, even when it was really scary.
Even when it seemed impossible.
Yeah.
Their courage, it's incredible.
It's really inspiring.
It shows us that even in the darkest time,
The human spirit, it can still persevere. And it reminds us that we have a choice. We always have a choice. We can give in to fear, to hate, or we can fight for what's right, for the people we care about, and never give up on the possibility of change.
I love that.
What do you think makes Voldemort such a compelling villain, though?
I think it's because his story is like a cautionary tale. It's a warning about what can happen when you let ambition take over.
When you let fear control you.
Exactly.
It's funny because even though he couldn't understand love, he knew it was powerful.
Oh, absolutely.
He even tried to, harness that power, but for his own evil purposes, right?
Yeah, he tried to twist it.
He tried to use it for evil.
Like with Harry and his mother's love, he knew Lily's sacrifice had protected Harry. And he wanted to break that, to use it against him.
It's kind of scary when you think about it.
It is.
It shows that Voldemort, even though he couldn't feel love, he recognized its power.
And he was willing to manipulate it.
That's what's so messed up about evil sometimes.
Right. It's not always like this obvious destructive force. It can be sneaky. It can even be seductive,
So I guess that brings us back to our original question. Does understanding Voldemort make him a better villain?
I think it does, yeah.
Why?
Because it shows that evil can come from something as simple as fear.
Fear. That's all it was, really.
Voldemort was afraid of dying. He needed to control everything.
And those fears led him to make terrible choices.
Choices that ultimately destroyed him.
It's a powerful reminder that even the smartest people can be corrupted.
So, we've reached the end of our deep dive into Voldemort's soul. And I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a little
uneasy, yeah.
like we've stared into the abyss.
We have.
And seen just how dark things can get. But we've also seen the power of love.
The strength of the human spirit.
And the fact that there's always hope.
And a choice.
Yeah, a chance to be better.
That's what I love about this series. It reminds us that even in the darkest times, we can choose to fight for what's right, to stand up for each other, and never give up hope.
Beautifully said.
All right, you ready to get into some Wizarding World deep dive analysis with me?
Always.
Today we're tackling Draco Malfoy.
Ooh, interesting choice.
We're going to go way beyond, like, is Draco good or evil? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's surface level.
Yeah. We're going straight to the heart of it. Like, is he really responsible for what he does?
Yeah.
Or did his upbringing in, that lap of pureblood privilege leave him with no other options?
That's what's fascinating to me is that classic nature versus nurture debate.
Totally.
And we're going to use the books as our guide here.
Right.
We're going to dissect his choices, the struggles.
Yeah.
How he navigates this whole mess of pureblood ideology and the expectations.
Oh, the expectations that come with being a Malfoy.
It's a lot. To be a Malfoy, it's a lot. We have all 7 books.
That's a lot of material.
It is. So we're looking at the long game.
Yeah.
The subtle shifts in Draco's behavior.
And we're going to ask some tough questions. Like,
yeah.
How much can we hold someone accountable for beliefs that were basically just spoon-fed to them from birth?
Right, indoctrinated.
Totally.
I think the best place to start is back at the beginning.
Okay.
Our first encounter with Draco.
Okay, so Sorcerer's Stone.
Yeah, that wonderfully pompous introduction.
My gosh, yes.
He doesn't waste any time at all.
No, he does not.
Establishing that he's superior, judging Harry right away.
Immediately.
For not knowing all the right wizarding families.
What? Come on. How could you not know?
This kid is 11 years old, and he is already a master of snobbery.
It's more than snobbery, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's that instant disdain for anybody that doesn't fit into his very narrow view of worthy.
It's very black and white thinking, isn't it?
Yeah. And, I mean, remember that cutting remark that he makes to Harry?
Oh, about Christmas.
Yeah, about, those who have to stay at Hogwarts for Christmas because their families don't want them.
Yeah.
Oof. Brutal.
That was brutal.
Yeah.
That was a little brutal for an 11-year-old.
Yeah.
But that tells you everything.
Yeah.
Right? That speaks volumes about the values that he's internalized.
Mm-hmm.
He's not just being a brat.
Right.
He's echoing the prejudices he's been taught.
Yes.
And it sets the stage for how those prejudices escalate as he gets older.
So then we move to Chamber of Secrets. We see those prejudices turn into full-blown, bigotry.
Yeah.
He starts using the slur like mudgled.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And mirroring his father's disdain for muggles and anybody who dares to associate with them.
Right.
It's a chilling reflection of this pureblood ideology.
Oh, yeah.
That just, permeates the wizarding world.
It's everywhere.
But particularly, I think, in families like the Malfoys.
Right.
It's almost as if Draco's being groomed to carry that torch of bigotry for the next generation.
Yeah, and Lucius Malfoy certainly plays a key role in that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, in Chamber of Secrets, he's trying to, actively discredit Arthur Weasley.
Planting that diary.
Yeah, it's like he's showing Draco how to wield power.
Yeah, and influence.
To maintain that status quo.
It's all about power, isn't it?
It is.
Lucius embodies that very system that Draco is trapped within.
Yes.
The system that values blood purity above all else.
Right.
It's not even just about, individual beliefs at that point.
Right.
It's about social structures.
Yes.
It's about power dynamics. And it's about the weight of history.
Yeah.
Draco is being molded by those forces.
But, and this is where it gets tricky, I think, does that completely absolve him?
Yeah,
of responsibility.
that's the question.
Because even at that young age, he seems to relish the role of Billy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's not just passively absorbing his dad's views, he's actively putting them into practice.
Yeah.
Often with, like, a cruel streak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the dilemma. It's
Yeah.
that messy entanglement of conditioning and agency.
Totally.
You know, is he choosing to be cruel?
Right.
Or is that cruelty a byproduct of the environment that has normalized it?
Right, because cruelty is all he's ever known.
Right.
Yeah. It's like he's trapped in a gilded cage, but he's also holding the key.
He is. He has the potential to break free.
Right.
But the question is, does he ever truly recognize that potential? Or is he too blinded by the privilege and the fear
Uh-huh.
that comes with defying his family's legacy?
Right. I mean, because to defy that would be huge,
It would be.
you know.
And dangerous.
Yeah, dangerous. And let's not forget that even within that seemingly, like, unwavering prejudice,
Right.
there are glimpses of something else.
Yeah.
Something a little bit more complex, you know.
Yeah.
Even as early as Prisoner of Azkaban,
Mm-hmm.
when Draco gets injured by Buckbeak,
Yeah,
I mean, sure, he milks it
he does.
for all the attention he can get.
Totally.
But there's also this flicker of, like, genuine fear. Vulnerability even.
Absolutely. That moment punctures that facade,
Yeah.
right? The one that he's so carefully constructed of, like toughness.
Right.
It
You-
suggests that maybe, just maybe, there's more to him
Yes.
than the arrogant bully.
Right.
And I love that. I love when you get those glimpses.
Yeah, and it makes you think.
It does.
Like, is there more there?
Yeah.
Is he more complex?
Yeah. And then later in that same book,
Yeah.
when Harry sees him terrified of Lupin,
Crying
crying in Moaning Myrtle's bathroom,
in Moaning Myrtle's bathroom, of all places.
it's not just fear of a werewolf, is it?
No, it's not.
It challenges the core of his beliefs.
Totally.
If werewolves, right,
Yeah.
these beings he's been taught to despise,
Yes, hate.
can evoke such terror in him,
Yeah.
does that then force him to confront the absurdity
Uh-huh.
of his own prejudice?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it does make you wonder.
it does.
Like, were those seeds of doubt always there?
Yeah, were they buried?
Buried beneath those layers of indoctrination?
Yeah,
Or are they just started to sprout
right.
as he starts to encounter these experiences that contradict the pureblood narrative that he's been raised in?
Totally. It's like, is he starting to see the cracks in the foundation
Yeah, and quite.
as his belief system?
Yes.
And it's a question that becomes even more relevant as his world really starts to kind of crumble.
Yeah.
By Goblet of Fire,
Yeah.
we see that kind of childish arrogance morph into something a little bit darker,
Uh-huh.
almost like this desperate need to prove himself,
Yeah.
especially with Harry in the spotlight.
Oh, always.
Always, yeah.
Yeah, and there's this underlying tension, this, like, simmering resentment
Yeah.
that explodes whenever Harry achieves something he can't.
Yeah,
And it's more than just rivalry at that point, isn't it?
it is.
It's like he's wrestling with the inconsistencies
Yes.
of, like, what his father has taught him
Yeah,
and what he's actually seeing.
exactly. He's caught in this cognitive dissonance. Yeah.
He can't deny Harry's courage and his skill,
Right.
but he's also so deeply ingrained in that pure blood mindset.
Yes.
It's crazy. And it's an Order of the Phoenix, I think, where the stakes get so much higher.
Yeah.
Voldemort returns.
Yeah.
We really start to see those cracks in Draco's facade just widen,
Okay.
you know?
Yeah.
Like, he joins the Inquisitorial Squad, he
Uh-huh.
becomes a prefect.
Mm-hmm.
But even in those positions of authority,
Right.
there's a sense that he's not fully in control.
Yeah. He's almost like a puppet.
He is. It's like he's playing a part, isn't it?
Yeah.
Trying to live up to an ideal
Right.
that's slowly suffocating him.
Yeah.
Like, the pressure is immense.
Oh, yeah.
At this point, his dad's reputation is, like, in tatters.
It is. After the ministry, it's done.
After the ministry, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you've got Voldemort's expectations on top of that.
Oh, right. Which are just crushing. Crushing. Totally. And then you get to Half-Blood Prince, where all that pressure just turns into this full-blown crisis.
Yeah.
He's tasked with killing Dumbledore.
Right.
A task that even seasoned Death Eaters would find daunting, I think.
Right. He's, what, 16? 17?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a big ask.
it's a big ask for anybody, let alone a teenager.
I know.
Yeah. And, I mean, let's be real. He makes some terrible choices
Mm-hmm.
trying to fulfill that task.
Yeah. Some bad decisions.
He nearly kills Katie Bell with that cursed necklace.
Yeah.
He uses the vanishing cabinet to, like, smuggle Death Eaters into Hogwarts.
Mm-hmm.
These aren't just schoolboy pranks anymore.
No.
Like, these are things that have serious consequences.
Absolutely. And those consequences are precisely what start to, like, dismantle
Yeah.
that carefully constructed persona.
Okay.
Do you remember that scene in Moaning Myrtle's bathroom?
Yeah.
He's not the swaggering bully anymore. He's completely broken down,
Yeah.
weeping over the weight of what he's been forced to do.
Right.
And it's interesting, actually, because Rowling herself describes Draco in that moment as morally cowardly.
Okay.
But I actually find that description a little problematic.
Oh, interesting. You think she got it wrong?
I think it's a little too simplistic.
Okay.
Yes, Draco is terrified.
Yeah.
But is it cowardice, or is it like a flicker of conscience?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
A recognition that taking a life, even Dumbledore's, goes against something deep within him.
You're saying that he's not just afraid of, like, failing Voldemort, but he's afraid of becoming the monster he's supposed to be.
Exactly. It's like,
Yeah.
is he going to lose himself in this? You know? And that internal conflict comes to a head when he finally confronts Dumbledore at the top of the astronomy tower.
Right.
And he's got his wand raised, right? He's got the opportunity to fulfill his mission, but he hesitates.
Yeah.
He just can't bring himself to do it.
He can't pull the trigger.
He can't pull the trigger.
Yeah, and he doesn't just fail to kill Dumbledore. He actively lowers his wand when Snape steps in.
Right. So he's making a choice there.
He does.
That moment, to me, speaks volumes.
Mm-hmm.
It suggests that there's a line he's unwilling to cross.
Yeah.
Like, even the pressure, the fear, years of this pure blood indoctrination,
Right.
they're not enough to override his own sense of, you know, right and wrong.
Right. Like that moral compass.
His moral compass, still there.
Still there.
It's like all those years of conditioning are finally clashing with his own sense of what's right and wrong.
Exactly. You know, he's been taught to hate.
Yeah.
See anyone who isn't a pureblood as inferior.
Right.
But in that pivotal moment,
Yeah.
he chooses not to kill.
Yeah.
And, you know, again, does it absolve him of his previous actions?
No, but it complicates the narrative, though.
It complicates the narrative.
Yeah.
It absolutely does.
Draco the villain. Yeah, and it's a complication that continues into Deathly Hallows.
Totally.
I mean, the world is at war, the lines are drawn, Draco and his family are, you know, right in the thick of it.
They are.
But even as a Death Eater,
Right.
he doesn't exhibit that same level of, like, fanaticism
No, that's a good point.
that his peers do.
Right. Like he's not out there leading raids.
Oh, no.
Like torturing Muggleborns.
No, and he even seems reluctant, I think, to identify Harry, Ron, and Hermione
Yes.
when they're captured and brought to Malfoy Manor.
It's huge.
Huge, right?
Yeah.
And there's that scene during the Battle of Hogwarts when he and his parents are reunited amidst all the chaos. You know, they're not celebrating victory.
Right.
They're like clinging to each other,
Yeah.
desperately seeking solace
Yeah.
in the middle of like utter devastation, you know? And it's such a stark contrast to like the Bellatrix Lestranges
Oh, totally.
of the world. Yeah.
Who are, you know, reveling in the violence and all of that.
Yeah. And so in that moment, Draco chooses family over fanaticism.
He does.
Right. Which is this subtle but powerful act of defiance against this ideology that has shaped his entire life.
It is. And that act, I think, is really foreshadowing of the man that he ultimately becomes.
Okay.
Because in the epilogue, we see Draco, who's distanced himself from his family's more extreme beliefs.
Okay.
He's married Astoria Greengrass,
Right.
who is known for her more tolerant views.
Okay.
And they're raising their son, Scorpius, with those same values, which is a clear rejection of the pure blood supremacy that defined his own childhood.
Right. So, I mean, the big question is Draco redeemed?
Redemption is such a tricky concept.
Yeah, it is.
I think, you know, it's not about erasing the past.
Right.
But it is about acknowledging it,
Yeah.
learning from it, and then actively choosing a different path.
And I think Draco, in his own way, embodies that journey.
Yeah. He's certainly not the same arrogant bully
Right.
that we met on Platform 934.
No, not at all.
Yeah, all those years ago.
He's been forced to confront the consequences of his actions, when, you know, the ugliness of the ideology that he so readily embraced.
Right.
And, you know, he may never fully escape the shadow of his past.
Right.
But he has made a conscious effort, I think, to break free from that cycle of prejudice.
And that's huge.
It's huge. And he's chosen to raise his son in a world where blood purity is no longer the defining factor.
Yeah.
Where acceptance and tolerance are the guiding principles, which is lovely.
And I mean, it's a powerful message, isn't it?
It is.
That even someone raised in a world of hate
Mm-hmm.
can choose to create a different reality for themselves and their children.
Totally. And it forces us to confront our own assumptions about people.
Yeah.
Do we see them as products of their environment?
Forever trapped by their past?
Right.
Or do we recognize their capacity for growth, for change, for choosing a different path?
Yeah.
Because even in the darkest corners of the wizarding world, there's a glimmer of hope.
There is. Makes me think about the Sorting Hat,
Yeah.
How much of who we become is determined by the house we're placed in,
That's interesting.
What if Draco had been, like, a Gryffindor instead of a Slytherin?
Right.
Would he have been surrounded by different influences?
Yeah.
Different values?
Right. Different friends.
Different friends?
Yeah.
Would Gryffindor Draco have challenged his family's beliefs?
Yeah.
Would he have been out there like a champion for Muggle rights alongside Harry and Hermione?
Right. Would he have been like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
We got to stick together.
Right.
Or
would those same internal conflicts have played out just in a different context?
Yeah.
Maybe instead of struggling with, pure blood supremacy,
right.
he'd be grappling with the pressure to live up to Gryffindor's ideals of bravery and chivalry.
Right. So maybe he'd be constantly like questioning if he was brave enough, if he was worthy enough to be in Gryffindor.
Totally. I mean, we know he's capable of bravery.
He is.
Right.
Yeah.
Even if it's often like masked by that arrogance and fear.
Yeah.
But it's there.
Yeah.
It highlights the limitations of labels, I think.
Totally.
Like we tend to box people in.
We do.
Based on our perceptions, our expectations.
Yeah, for sure.
But the reality is like so much more nuanced.
It is.
Even within Slytherin, right?
Right.
A house that's known for producing some of the wizarding world's like darkest wizards.
Right.
There are complexities.
There are.
There are contradictions.
Yeah, like Slughorn.
Yeah.
Right? He's a Slytherin.
Yeah.
But he's not a Death Eater.
Right.
Right. He values talent.
Right.
He values ambition.
Yeah.
But he's not inherently evil.
Exactly.
Right? And even Snape. I mean, arguably the most complex character in the entire series.
Absolutely.
Right.
A Slytherin who ultimately sacrifices everything to protect Harry.
Right.
So wild.
It is.
It reminds us that we can't simply categorize people as good or evil.
Right.
Based on their house or their family or even like their past actions.
Right, right.
Everyone has the capacity for both darkness and light.
Yeah.
And it's the choices they make that ultimately define who they are.
Yes. And I think, like, that's the most valuable takeaway from Draco's journey.
I think so.
He starts off as this, like, poster child for pure-blood arrogance.
Right.
But as we, like, delve deeper,
yeah,
we see the layers peel back.
Yeah.
And we see, like, the fear, the insecurity.
Yeah, the vulnerability.
And eventually even a glimmer of, like, remorse.
Yeah.
And, like, a desire for something different.
Exactly. Like, is this really what I want?
Like, is this who I want to be?
Am I on the right path?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he forces us to confront this, like, uncomfortable truth.
Yeah.
That even those we might consider the enemy are capable of change.
They are.
Of growth.
Yeah.
And it challenges us, I think, to look beyond the labels, beyond the stereotypes, and actually see the individual, the human being that's grappling with their own internal demons.
Yeah. And that's what it is. Like, we're all just human.
Yeah, we're all just trying to figure it out.
We're all just trying to figure it out.
In our own way.
In our own way. It's a powerful message, especially, I think, in a world where it's so easy to, like, judge.
Yeah.
To condemn.
To write people off.
Yeah, to write people off.
Draco's story, I think, reminds us to hold on to the possibility of redemption.
It does.
To recognize that even in the darkest of hearts, there can be a spark of light.
Yes.
It might take years, even decades, for that spark to ignite, but it's a reminder that it's never too late to choose a different path.
Never too late. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the complicated world of Draco Malfoy, I want to leave you with this. What are the labels you hold on to? Who are you quick to judge? And what might you discover if you dig a little deeper, challenge your own assumptions? Because sometimes the most valuable lessons come from the most unexpected of places. right, so you really got me thinking with this one.
Yeah,
This deep dive is going to be fun.
it is.
The question of Severus Snape, hero or villain. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
You've given us the entire Harry Potter series to work with.
A lot to unpack there.
Okay, this is going to be good.
Yeah, it's a question that's, sparked endless debates, I think.
Right.
And you know what makes Snape so fascinating is that he truly embodies
Yeah.
both heroic and villainous qualities,
Yeah.
making him one of the most morally ambiguous characters.
I mean, truly in literature.
Yeah, across the board.
Exactly.
Across the board, yeah.
We first meet him as this intimidating potions master.
Right.
Relentlessly harsh, particularly towards Harry.
Hmm.
You would think he was...
Especially Harry.
Yeah, especially Harry.
Right out of the villain's handbook.
Straight out of the villain's handbook.
Exactly.
Right,
But then we uncover his past.
Yeah.
His childhood connection with Lily Potter,
Yeah.
Harry's mother.
It's this classic tale of unrequited love.
Right.
But the repercussions of this love,
Really reverberate through
they impact his choices and actions.
his entire life.
Yeah.
Yeah, his choices, his actions, everything.
Well, yeah.
It's powerful stuff.
And that's where things get complicated, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Because this love is powerful, but it's also deeply flawed.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
the mudblood incident,
Yeah.
it's hard to get past.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pivotal moment that reveals Snape's capacity for prejudice and cruelty.
Right.
Even towards someone he supposedly loved.
Towards someone he loved, yeah.
Yeah, it raises these really complex questions about the nature of love itself.
Yeah.
Can love be a source of both good and evil?
Oh, yeah.
Can it be twisted into something possessive and destructive?
Right. And it's like this shadow
Absolutely.
that hangs over everything he does.
Yeah.
On one hand, he becomes this courageous double agent,
Right.
risking his life to protect Harry,
Mm-hmm.
to thwart Voldemort.
To thwart Voldemort, yep.
But on the other hand, he's this bitter, vindictive bully,
At the same time.
tormenting students
Yeah.
and clinging to
grudges.
grudges.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's fascinating.
It is fascinating, isn't it?
It is.
How these opposing forces can coexist within him.
Yeah.
He's capable of such immense bravery,
Yeah.
demonstrated by his work as a double agent for Dumbledore.
Right.
I mean, just think about the risks that he took, the
Yeah.
constant threat of exposure,
Totally.
the burden of living a lie.
Yeah.
This is heavy stuff.
He's practically playing chess
He's always thinking 3 steps ahead,
with Voldemort,
at least.
always several moves ahead,
Yeah.
manipulating events in subtle ways.
He's like a puppet master.
He's like a puppy master in the shadows.
Yeah, pulling strings
Yeah.
that you don't even see.
Exactly.
Right.
Protects Harry from Quirrell in Sorcerer's Stone.
Right.
Delays Voldemort in Deathly Hallows.
Big moments.
Even guides Harry toward the Horcruxes using legilimency.
Exactly.
These are not the actions
Very subtle.
of a simple villain.
No, they're not.
Uh.
These are not the actions of a simple villain, no.
Then you have his treatment of Neville Longbottom.
Right.
The constant belittling.
Mm-hmm.
The way he preys on Neville's insecurities.
Yeah.
It's hard to reconcile that behavior
It is really
with the heroism we see elsewhere.
It's like, how can these two things exist in the same person?
How can someone be both hero and bully?
Right.
Can good deeds ever truly outweigh bad behavior?
It's the question, isn't it?
It's this moral ambiguity that makes Snape
It really is.
such a compelling and frustrating character.
Frustrating and compelling for sure.
And I think it's this duality that really resonates with readers.
It does.
We see parts of ourselves in him,
Mm-hmm.
the capacity for both good and bad,
Yeah.
the struggles with our own inner demons.
Our own flaws.
It makes him deeply human,
Absolutely.
despite his flaws.
Yeah. He's a reminder that people are rarely all good or all bad.
Right.
We all exist on a spectrum.
Yeah.
And Snape, more than almost any other character, occupies this liminal space, this moral gray area.
Yeah.
I think that's why we're so drawn to him.
So we're seeing Snape as this incredibly skilled wizard.
Right.
This master of deception and manipulation.
Yeah.
He's driven by this complex love for Lily, leading him to protect Harry
Right.
at great personal risk.
At great personal risk.
But he's also deeply flawed,
But
capable of immense cruelty.
yeah.
And this is just the beginning of our dive into his story.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Good.
we've only just scratched the surface.
Scratch the surface.
There's so much more to uncover.
There's so much more to uncover.
It's this enigmatic figure.
Yeah.
It's going to be a journey.
It's going to be a wild ride.
That's going to challenge our assumptions about heroism and villainy
Yeah.
and the complexities of human nature.
Absolutely.
So buckle up.
All right.
Let's dive in.
Let's get into the nitty-gritty.
Okay.
How did this whole love story with Lily start?
Yeah, how did it all begin?
How did it all go so wrong?
And how did it go so terribly wrong?
Yeah.
Yeah. It all starts way back in childhood,
Okay.
in a world that feels so different from, like, the grandeur of Hogwarts.
Right. Yeah, like their childhood before
Yeah.
Hogwarts even.
Exactly. And they're kind of drawn together as these outsiders, you know,
Yeah.
finding solace in this shared fascination with magic.
Like magic is this escape hatch
It is.
for them to like
Mhm.
transcend the realities of their lives.
Absolutely. Especially for Snape,
Right, especially for Snape
with that difficult home life, you know?
with his terrible home life.
Yeah, it's really rough.
Yeah.
He comes from a background of poverty and neglect,
Right.
whereas Lily has this, you know, loving,
Right.
albeit non-magical family.
Right. Yeah.
But magic becomes their common ground.
Yeah.
It's the space where their differences seem to kind of fade away
Right.
for a while.
But then those differences
Oh.
resurface,
They do.
especially as they enter the world of Hogwarts,
Yeah.
where those social hierarchies and prejudices are
Yeah, deeply ingrained.
so deeply ingrained. Yeah.
Hogwarts, for all its wonder, you know,
Yeah.
it reflects the complexities of the wizarding world.
It does.
And that's where Snape's insecurities and resentments
right.
begin to kind of fester
Yeah.
and ultimately lead to that devastating
Yeah.
mudblood incident.
It's like a train wreck
It is.
in slow motion.
It's like you can see it coming.
You can see it coming.
The trajectory of their relationship,
Right.
you know, the buildup of tension, the
Right.
inevitable collision.
And that single word just shatters everything.
It does.
Hurled in a moment of anger and pain.
Yeah, it's a potent reminder
It is.
of the destructive power of prejudice.
Yeah.
And that one word
Yeah.
encapsulates Snape's own internalized biases.
Yeah.
His inability to see beyond those societal norms.
Right. And it highlights the fragility of love.
Hmm.
It does. How easily it can be poisoned by hate.
Absolutely.
And it's not just the impact on their relationship.
No.
This seems to define Snape's entire path.
Right.
It pushes him further into darkness,
Yeah.
into the clutches of the Death Eaters.
It's a turning point for him.
Yeah.
A real descent into a world that promises power
Right.
and belonging,
Yeah.
but ultimately leads to further isolation and regret.
It does. Yeah.
And even as he turns away from Voldemort later on,
Right.
his past actions continue to haunt him.
It's like he's trapped in this cycle
He is.
of guilt and resentment,
Yeah,
like unable to forgive himself
absolutely.
for what he did to Lily.
Right.
And that guilt fuels his obsession with protecting Harry.
It does.
It's almost like it's a way to
It's
atone for
obsessed.
his past sins.
I think that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
His actions are driven by this, you know, complex mix of
Right, yeah.
love and guilt,
Right.
a desire to protect Lily's legacy,
Yeah.
even as he struggles with his own demons.
Uh-huh.
It's a form of redemption,
It is.
but it's twisted, you know?
It is.
It's shadowed by his lingering bitterness.
Right.
That's always there.
It's always there.
Yeah,
So we see him taking these incredible risks
we do.
to protect Harry,
Mm-hmm.
constantly putting himself in danger to
Yeah.
ensure Harry's
To be
safety.
sure that Harry survives.
Think about the moment he protects Harry from Quirrell
Oh, yeah.
in Sorcerer's Stone.
Huge moment.
He could have easily let Voldemort win,
He could have.
but he chooses to intervene,
He does.
even though it means revealing his allegiance
To Dumbledore?
to Dumbledore.
Right.
It's a subtle act of defiance,
It's
this
a...
glimpse of the hero
Right.
that lies beneath this gruff exterior.
Beneath the surface, yeah.
And it's a testament to the depth of his love for Lily,
It really is.
that he's willing to risk everything
Everything.
for her son.
For her son, yeah.
And it's not a one-time thing.
No.
He continues to protect Harry
He does throughout the series.
throughout this series.
Yeah. In ways that are sometimes
In subtle ways,
very subtle, almost invisible.
like in Deathly Hallows,
Right.
when he delays Voldemort,
Yeah.
giving Harry and his friends time to escape.
Right. Gives them that crucial time
Crucial time.
to get away.
Yeah,
These are acts of true bravery,
they are.
requiring immense cunning and self-control.
He's playing a dangerous game,
He is.
walking this tightrope
Yeah.
between loyalty and deception.
Absolutely. And it's a game that he plays masterfully.
He does.
I mean, he's really good at it.
He really is.
But then there's the flip side, right?
But then there's the flip side.
The cruelty.
The cruelty that he inflicts.
That he inflicts on the students.
On students.
Yeah, particularly Harry and Neville.
Particularly Harry and Neville.
It's like this dark undercurrent that threatens to undermine all of the heroic actions.
It does.
It's this duality.
It really is.
That makes him so fascinating and so frustrating.
So fascinating. So frustrating.
He's capable of such profound love and such petty vindictiveness.
It's crazy.
Right. It forces us to confront the complexities of human nature, the capacity for both good and evil that exists within us all.
That exists in us all, yeah.
To some degree.
And it's made even more complex by the fact that he's often justified in his actions.
He is.
As a teacher.
I mean, he has to maintain his cover.
He has to.
He has to deflect suspicion from Voldemort and his followers.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. If they suspected him, he's done.
It's over.
It's over.
Yeah.
His methods are harsh.
They are.
But they're necessary for survival in the midst of a war.
Right. He's constantly balancing this need to protect Harry.
He is.
With the need to maintain this facade.
Right.
As a loyal Death Eater.
It's a delicate balancing act.
It is.
And one that takes a heavy toll on him.
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
It's got to be.
Just emotionally to be in that position all the time.
Yeah.
Constantly having to be performing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there are moments where his behavior crosses the line.
There are.
Where it goes beyond the necessities of war.
Right.
And into like this realm of personal cruelty.
Yeah.
The way he belittles Neville.
Right.
Preys on his insecurities.
Mm.
It's hard to excuse that.
Yeah, it's tough to reconcile those moments.
Yeah.
With, everything else that we know about him.
Yeah.
But they're there.
They are there.
It's in those moments that we see the darkness.
Right.
That still lingers within him.
Yeah.
The resentment.
Right.
The bitterness.
The scars of his past.
Scars, yeah, they all contribute to his volatile nature.
Right.
And his tendency to lash out.
Yeah, and those scars run deep.
They do.
His childhood was marked by neglect and poverty. His teenage years by the allure of the dark arts.
Yeah, he's drawn to that power.
He is.
That sense of belonging
that
he finds there. It's a cautionary tale.
Yeah.
A reminder of the corrosive power of these forces.
Yeah.
Even someone as intelligent and gifted as Snape can succumb to the allure of darkness.
Especially when it promises power and belonging.
Especially when it promises those things. But even as he embraces the darkness, there's this glimmer of light, this flickering ember of love for Lily that never truly dies out.
Right.
And it's that love that ultimately redeems him.
Yeah.
Drives him to make the ultimate sacrifice.
It really does. I mean, it's like we're talking about two completely different people here.
Right.
The hero who protects Harry.
Yeah.
And this bully who torments his classmates. I mean, how do we
reconcile? How
do we reconcile these two sides of Snape?
That's the million-galleon question, right?
I think so.
And I think it really speaks to the core of Snape's complexity, Yeah. He's not a character who fits neatly into boxes.
No. He's not your typical hero.
He challenges us to think about heroism and villainy in more nuanced terms.
In more nuanced terms. Yeah, he's not like swooping in to save the day with a grand gesture.
He's not the classic hero.
He's not the classic hero. He operates in the shadows.
Right.
Driven by this hidden love.
Yeah.
Fueled by a past he can't escape.
Yeah, this past that he just can't let go of.
It's almost like Shakespearean.
It is a little bit, right?
This tragic figure consumed by regret.
Totally.
And it makes his final act, his death in Deathly Hallows, all the more impactful.
It really does.
He chooses to die. Not for glory or recognition.
But to protect Harry?
Right, to protect Harry.
To fulfill Dumbledore's plan.
Yeah.
And in those final moments,
right,
he reveals the depth of his love.
He does.
His sacrifices, the truth about his motivations.
It's like peeling back the layers of an onion. And just when you think you understand him, there's another layer, another revelation.
You get hit with something. No.
Those memories he gives to Harry, I mean, they change everything.
They change everything, don't they?
They do.
Yeah, they force us to reevaluate Snape's entire character arc.
His whole arc.
We see the depth of his love for Lily.
David.
The willingness to endure years of pain and loneliness.
To protect her son.
Yeah, to protect her son.
It's heartbreaking.
It is.
Because even in death, he's denied
Right.
the recognition he deserves.
He is.
He has to remain a villain.
Right.
In the eyes of the world.
In order to protect Harry.
To protect Harry.
To ensure the success.
Right.
Of Dumbledore's plan.
Of the plan.
I mean, it's just...
Yeah.
It's just so much.
It's a testament to his selflessness.
It is.
I mean, his willingness to sacrifice everything.
Right.
Even his reputation.
Even his reputation.
For the greater good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a twisted kind of heroism.
It is a twisted kind of heroism.
Shrouded in darkness.
Yeah.
But heroism nonetheless.
But heroism nonetheless.
So where do we land on this whole hero or villain debate?
Right. Is he a villain?
Yeah. I mean, is it even possible to give a definitive answer?
I don't know that it is.
Yeah.
I think the answer lies in embracing the complexity.
Yeah.
You know?
Snape is both.
Snape is both hero and villain.
A tapestry woven from threads of...
Yeah, he's this tapestry.
Love and loss.
Right, love and loss.
Courage and cruelty.
Courage and cruelty.
He defies simple categorization.
He does.
And I think that's what makes him...
And that's what makes him so compelling.
Compelling.
And enduring as a character.
As a character, it's a reminder that real life, even in the magical world of Harry Potter, isn't black and white.
It's not.
People are messy.
Yeah, people are messy.
Contradictory.
Capable
of both.
Capable of both.
And terrible things.
Great and terrible things, absolutely.
And ultimately, I think it's up to each individual to decide how they view Snape.
Right. You know, do you see him as a hero?
Yeah.
Flawed, but ultimately redeemed by his sacrifices? Or do you see him as a villain?
Right.
Whose good deeds can't erase his cruelty?
Yeah. It's up to you.
It really is.
What sticks with me is this idea that even in the darkest of hearts, there can be this flicker of light.
Yeah.
This capacity for love and sacrifice.
There can be.
And I think that's a powerful message.
It is.
One that resonates.
It really is.
Far beyond the pages.
Far beyond these pages.
Of the Harry Potter books.
Absolutely.
It really is.
Well said.
Snape's story is a testament to...
Snape's story is a testament.
The complexities of human nature.
Yes.
The enduring power of love.
Yes.
And the enduring questions.
Right.
That great literature leaves us pondering.
It really is why we keep coming back to these stories.
It's been an incredible deep dive.
It has been.
Full of twists and turns.
Yeah, full of twists and turns.
Just like Snape himself.
Yes, like Snape himself.
Thank you for guiding us through this fascinating exploration.
My pleasure.
It really has been.
Until next time.
Yeah.
Keep questioning.
Yeah.
Keep exploring.
Yeah.
And keep embracing the complexities of the world around you.
I love that.
All right.
That's great.
See ya.